intelligence cooperation and all the rest of it, and through it all, nothing seems to be changing. I mean, the Nigerians, it's almost as if they're sitting back and saying, well, we can't trust you to deal with this insurgency situation and these mass killings. And I mean, to a foreign mind, not a Nigerian one, because we've become sort of inured to it, but to a foreigner, I mean, thousands of people killed. It doesn't matter whether they're Muslims or Christians, both are being killed. I mean, that's a shocking thing. If one person gets killed, America could go to war for that, for an American citizen. So for them, it's an extraordinary situation. I wonder what you make of that.
Well, you make the point that the situation has been consistently there. The U.S. has perhaps run out of patience with Nigeria, and therefore it's taken on this hardline position. I'm afraid it's not exactly the case. Nigerian circumstances hasn't remained static. If you go back to 2009, when the first uprising of Boko Haram occurred, to where we are today, the mutation of some of these problems and also the addition of new challenges has changed the face of this conflict entirely. So we're not really talking about the same Nigeria. Nigeria today is dramatically different from Nigeria of even 10 years ago. So
how so?
Well, because the situation is more dire, the challenges are more serious, the threats are more varied, the sources of these threats are more varied.
In other words,
the only
the
thing that has been
more
consistent,
overwhelmed by the situation.
well, I think it's our leaders who have become. I mean, the only thing that has been consistent all along is that we have had bad leaders going as far back as perhaps after President Erdogan. All the way, all through the last 15 years, this country has been poorly led. Everything that happens to this country, you can visit it on the doorstep of our leadership. This is a country, a great country, great people, which has been poorly served by bad leaders, indifferent leaders. So if America feels, oh look, we're running out of patience, Nigerians would never get their acts together. It will continue this business of just saying, hey guys, there are enemies on your doorsteps and we don't like them. And therefore they burst in and say, we'll fix this country. America would not fix Nigeria. That's the last thing we need is an America breathing down our neck and making Nigeria weak, because we can buckle under. And that is not good for this country. Nigeria holds a huge strategic position in the geopolitics, in the Sahel, in the West Africa, in Africa. It's not the kind of country where you have a president who is used to getting his way, who says, okay, now give me Nigeria, bring Nigeria on the table, I will deal with it the way I want to. And then the language of the Americans is not very encouraging. The intelligence, the statistics, there are grounds for this action. It does not indicate that you're dealing with a well-informed leadership that recognizes the fact that they are dealing with a very complex country. So I'm afraid the truth is the Americans haven't done justice for themselves either. So when you put all these things together, I think the point is that Nigerians, the door was opened by our leaders. We are where we are today because our leaders have failed us. President Tinubu has failed us. The president before him for 8 years had done virtually nothing about the increasing place of insecurity in our lives. The president before him hasn't done much either. And here we are. So friends that should be saying to us, what can we do? Are now saying to us, fix yourselves or we'll fix you. And they know. Maybe
that's the kind of sort of electric shock and wake-up call that Nigeria needs. I mean, you have very outlined the fact that poor leadership, almost consistent poor leadership, has worsened the situation, made things deteriorate further. And yet everybody's pretending as if the emperor is wearing new clothes when they're clearly not, when he's clearly not. I mean, and it's all like constant praise, and if you say something out of the ordinary. I mean, maybe it is time for this country to really, and even if it takes embarrassment on the regional stage, the fact that Nigeria is shown not to be wearing any clothes and everybody identifies that, but it leads to a fundamental reset of things because this country needs a reset. I mean,
absolutely,
the amount of corruption, the electoral malpractice, I mean, you know, impunity. You can't get justice from anywhere. If you're not somebody who's really prominent, you can't hope to get justice in this country. I mean, on what basis can we continue this way?
No basis, and we shouldn't continue like this. We shouldn't. We should blow the whistle. And the best way you can read the U.S. position is that it serves as a wake-up call. If we had lived with killers of all types, in the southeast, in the IPOB, in the northeast, you have Boko Haram and ISWAP, in the northwest you have the bandits, in the north central you have the people who say they are Fulani herders, killing people and then being killed. It's enough. It's enough. Nigerians need to sit up and say to our leaders, hey, it's enough.
And in the process of that sitting up and talking to our leader, how do you think the leader should be reacting now at this very critical point in this country's history?
Well, I offered an opinion on social media, and I said I'm shocked that President Tinubu has still not spoken to Nigerians. I mean, as a leader talking to the people he leads. And it's really shocking. I posted that tweet, I think 3 days ago.
I saw that
And
tweet.
as we speak, the president hasn't deemed it necessary to sit in front of the camera and say to Nigerians, I understand the situation in which we are. There's a huge quarrel that has broken out. Muslims are saying, oh, they're coming after us. Christians are saying, yes, they are welcome. And people are afraid, they are scared. We think that things are going to get worse, and they will get worse. If America does undertake any activity that weakens this country further, it's not really justice to Christians or Muslims. So we're in a very bad situation. You would have thought a president would say, what does it take for President Tinubu to address the country? These are citizens, for goodness sake. He's our leader. We elected him. What does it take to get this president to say, fellow Nigerians, I understand the situation we are. This is regrettable. We are going to take the following steps in relation to the US. We'll take these steps in relation to the insurgency and the killings and everything. We're going to take these steps. What's wrong with that? That's what leaders do. For 2-3 lives, we know countries where the president leaves what he's doing and comes and sits down and speaks directly to citizens. Our president has not spoken to Nigerians. It's not as if public address to your citizens is anathema. What's wrong with the presidency?
It's almost like you're disdainful of the people, or you sort of...
Yeah, or you have nothing to say to them.
You disregard them as though they're not
exactly,
important.
or you have nothing to say to them. And that is a terrible, terrible thing.
But are you struck by the fact that the Nigerian government acts as if these warnings from the US amount to insults and attacks against it, instead of, as you mentioned earlier, a wake-up call and a realization that corruption has virtually destroyed not just this country's economy, its politics, its bureaucracy, but also infiltrated and is potentially ravaging the military, the police. I mean, we're hearing of procurement scandals, allegations of stolen allowances, reports of weapons diverted from the front lines and ending in the hands of the militants. And yet the Nigerians are acting with almost a certain amount of arrogance, you know, and looking as though these warnings are, you know, insults from the Americans.
Well, let's say, if the Americans needed advice, and if I were to advise the president from day one, I would have said, your language should be very carefully chosen. Measured. Your intelligence should be sound, strong, profound, and your engagement strategy should be really well thought through. On all 3 counts, he didn't do that. So even the Americans themselves didn't really, if that is the right thing to have done, threaten Nigeria and say, get your acts together or we'll get it for you down. They didn't do it very well. This is a country of Muslims and Christians. And so this persistent tenor that, oh, we're going to free our Christian brothers and all these things, it plays into the hands of those who are saying, they don't care.
Well, I think everybody is quite clear that most people are, I think, most sort of rational, middle-of-the-road people are quite clear that the insurgency in this country, the attacks, the kidnappings, is not directed at one group. It is across the board. Christians are being killed, Muslims are being killed, traditional religionists are being killed, everybody is being killed. But the point is that people are being killed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the key point.
That's absolutely. And I think this is really the point that needed for the Americans. This point needed to have been there consistently from day one.
Well, there's a political American thing, isn't it?
I understand
Internal,
that. I understand
politics.
that. And what it does is that it sort of dilutes the strength of the case that the Americans are
Well, not
making.
from their perspective. It
Well,
strengthens their case.
Well,
as
I
far as
don't
they're
know. I don't
concerned.
know. I just read this evening that the U.S. hasn't been able to get the numbers it needed to get Nigeria listed as CPC this afternoon in the U.S. And that tells you one thing, that it's quite possible that Trump is isolated on this position. But let's focus on Nigeria. We have let the door open. We need to fix ourselves. Only Nigerians can do this. No one else can do this for us. And we need to get angry enough and tired enough of this kind of leadership to say, hey, listen, if, for instance, if President Tinubu, he still has about 2 years or a little bit less than that, there's nothing wrong in saying to President Tinubu, fix insecurity now or forget 2027. It's a perfectly legitimate thing to say to the president.
You hold your
If we
leaders
didn't
to
say
account.
anything before, we should say it now. This is enough. We're fighting. We've let enough blood out.
Absolutely.
Criminals and killers now think Nigeria is on a free fall. We are not.
Absolutely.
And we're tired. It should stop.
But are you encouraged by the fact that discussions are happening in the US Congress about targeted sanctions, not against Nigeria as a country? And that's the bit I'm asking you about whether you're encouraged by, but against individuals such as politicians, military chiefs, etc., who they accuse of enabling the violence or corruption, etc. Do you support the fact that they're threatening to activate that list?
Absolutely. If the Americans or anybody outside Nigeria has evidence that there are Nigerians who are actually directly or even indirectly involved in escalating the insecurity, please get these people. And they should do more. If you have evidence that people are stealing our money and bringing it to your country, stop it. If you have evidence that people have stolen elections and they come to your country for holidays, they're buying homes, stop them. If they steal our money and they send our children to their children to your country, stop it. Stop giving them visas. These are the ways in which we can do. If we have problems with our military and intelligence, help us. You're America, you can help us. But this battle has to be fought by Nigerians. Because Nigerians have suffered long enough, and we can't fix this. But the first thing we need to do is to fix the leadership. And the best way Americans can help us is to hold our leaders the same way we're doing, accountable for what's going on. And two, to ask, what can we do? And there's a lot they can do. And again, let me repeat, any hostile act that makes Nigerians weaker is actually jeopardizing the recovery of the country. It's not good for Nigeria, it's not good for America, it's not good for the world. This is a country on the edge, it should not be pushed further.
But do you think this unprecedented global attention, just in itself, even if it doesn't go further, but if that attention remains focused, that it could force change in this country? Is that something you are hoping for?
Well, whether we like it or not, we are living in a global village. Let me use a very popular cliche. The world knows our situation, which is the reason why those who really are concerned about what's going on in this country, look, there are attempts by interests to take over huge territory, part of Nigeria, part of Chad, part of Cameroon, part of Niger, and turn it into the global headquarters of terror. Those in intelligence circles know this. I'm saying this publicly now. A lot of people know this. We must never allow that kind of thing to happen. We don't want to live under ISWA. We don't want to live under Boko Haram. We don't want to live under Lokarawa. We don't want to live under IPOB. We want to live.
Nor do we want to live under the Americans.
Exactly, and we don't want an American. We want. And America has been our friend, for goodness sake. The point I'm making is we shouldn't fall out. This is the time when a real friend will come over and say, listen. This thing has gone on for too long. What can we do? And there's a lot the Americans can do for us. For instance, they can't sanction our leaders, but making lives more difficult for ordinary citizens, or taking on Nigeria in a hostile manner, or setting us up against each other, is the last thing the Americans need to do.
But what about the fact that we have been doing it to ourselves? Because obviously optics are very important, aren't they? And if they're not right, they can come across as very damaging. Sure. I mean, take for instance the fact that Nigeria has a Muslim president and a Muslim vice president. In a country where there's always been balance. If the president comes from the Christian community, the other one is a Muslim, and so on. And that has reinforced the perception of an absence of prominent Christian figures in security. I mean, if you look through quite a lot of it, that's the perception people have. And as I said, optics are very important. Do you see how that can reinforce the belief in a Christian community, not necessarily the whole country, but in a Christian community under attack, that they're on their own?
Charles, you know, it will be interesting. If you know what the Muslims say, that what is the point of having a Muslim president and a Muslim vice president if Muslims are dying in these numbers?
Yeah, but it's also the optics, isn't
I
it?
understand that.
And, I'm not saying that is correct.
No.
But
I
it
understand.
Reinforces that.
Absolutely.
You know, particularly for people international, saying, well, look at what's happening.
Yeah.
They've got this, blah, blah, blah. They violated the code.
Well, you could say, in fairness, if you want to be fair, you could say, okay, those people were elected. So Nigerians were given a choice between elect a Muslim ticket or elect a Muslim Christian ticket,
but we know
whatever.
the way the elections are alleged to have
For
gone.
the sake of argument, let's assume that President Tinubu and Vice President Shatima are elected people. But I agree with you. The optics suggest, for those who don't like it, that this is a country
or who don't
dominated by the
understand
Muslims.
it.
But we're a country of people who count on our finger. How many generals in the recent shifts changes are Christians? Well, how many are Muslims? This is a country of Muslims and Christians.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why we should raise our levels of sensitivity in what we do, in everything we do. The inclusion must be a key element of everything in Nigeria.
I agree.
And we should stop this business of saying, oh, more of us have been killed. Every single life, like you said, every single life that we've lost it matters. It doesn't matter who it is.
Absolutely.
Now, the final point I think about this is Nigerians need to get a little bit more angry, not violent, but we need to be more angry with our leaders. They've taken us for granted for too long. They think that this insecurity will live with it for too long. Nothing. Don't worry about this. You change service chiefs, change a few generals here, move them around, and nothing would happen. They will come back again in 2027, and the same people will come back.
Absolutely.
No, it has to stop. It has to stop. A leader that cannot secure his people has no business leading us.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to tell these current leaders,
Absolutely.
fix insecurity now, or in 2027, we'll reject you.
And in that regard, let me change gears slightly and move away from Donald Trump and turn to domestic Nigerian politics. I mean, this is something that you've raised volubly in the last couple of weeks as well. We've seen a lot of defections to from the opposition, mainly the PDP, to the ruling APC party. I notice you've been speaking with some concern about that and the fact that this is weakening those parties and potentially Nigeria's democracy, and that and this is the crucial point I think you made, that the legality of those defections hasn't been properly tested in court. Do you think its legality should be tested, or should we just shrug our shoulders, resign ourselves to it, and perhaps wait for when Donald Trump might decide to set his sights on the defection mania in this country? And hopefully he'll sort of wave a magic wand and all that will sort of change.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm amazed that nobody has really taken this issue of defections all the way to the judicial process. I don't know. If it's been done, then I'm not aware of it. But I believe that this is a fundamental issue that needs to be. Do you elect a person, or do you elect a person and this party, or do you give the party the mandate? This is very important. Now, so that needs to be rigorously interrogated. This is very important for us. In any case, politicians who are all defecting to APC suggest to you only one thing: the Nigerian political system is broken. The transactional nature of Nigerian politics is poisonous. It's all about money and people who are running away from being prosecuted because perhaps they have committed one crime or the other. This is the simple truth. And it comes back to the question that the issue we were talking about. Should we trust these people again with another 4 years of 4-year mandate to run this country aground again, and we have foreign countries saying we'll come and fix you?
But that's what makes Nigerian politics so complex and so complicated, because it's never black and white, is it? I mean, there are the ethnic considerations, there are the religious considerations. He's from my part of the country, he's not from my part of the country, and all those sentiments come into play, even if no difference has been made to you in your part of the country. It's just that sense of, you know, this is my little sort of way of having some sense of ownership within Nigeria. It's extraordinary, isn't it? And it makes the whole democratic thing, which I think is the point that you also made, seem so superficial.
Yeah. I think I relate with a particular cluster of politicians that give me hope. Actually, I'm not as helpless and hopeless as a lot of people are. I think that somewhere along the line, and maybe I'm just wishing something, somewhere along the line between now and 2027, I think Nigerians would rise against this kind of leadership. Just think about it. If between now and 2027, all the things that have been going on, the threats, the quarrels that we have, the scare and everything, a foreign country says, hey, Nigeria, get your acts together, or we will come over and fix it for you. That's an insult for a country like Nigeria. That's enough to get us to say, hey, but we caused it. And the killings haven't stopped. The killings have not stopped. A simple thing like the President Tinubu talking to citizens, we're begging for it. We're saying, Mr. President, what's going on? Talk to us. Talk to us, not the Minister of Foreign Affairs, not the Minister of Information, not your press people. Talk to us. We have to beg for our president, and we're saying to him, don't go to the US. They will humiliate you. Don't go. Even if they invite you, don't go, sir. Stay here and fix this country. So, like I said, it sounds hard, but that is simple truth. If all Nigerians, or most Nigerians can agree, let's draw a line. If this particular president doesn't fix insecurity in a year, then we turn our backs on him. And no one should assume to get our votes unless he gives us one promise. I will get rid of all these killers all over the country, wherever they are. I will secure the lives of every Nigerian, Christian, Muslim, Northern or Southern. That is my first priority. I will fix corruption. I will stop corruption. I would give young Nigerians faith in their country and hope that they will grow up in a wholesome country as citizens of a country worth respecting. I think that it can be done, and it must be done, because the failure of Nigeria is unimaginable in terms of its consequences.